In your notes, we're now on page 25, second type of quadratic word problem, area problems. And I have a feeling that you saw some of these things last year in geometry. Take a moment, read that first example. Well, anytime we have a word problem that involves geometry, I think the first step should be to draw a picture. I think if you can actually see what's going on, you're gonna be much better off. So I'm gonna go draw a rectangle. And I told you that the length of the photograph is a centimeter less than twice the width. Let's make this our width. How would you show me, how would you create an expression that says the length is 1 centimeter less than twice the width? What might that look like? Well, twice the width is 2w. How do you give me 1 centimeter less than that? Minus 1. If your width is w, your length is going to be 2w minus 1. I then told you that the area is 28 centimeters squared. How do you find the area of a rectangle? We just have to multiply the length times the width. So I'm going to go create the equation w times 2w minus 1 equals 28. Kind of looks like the beginnings of those number problems. You need to go take a moment, distribute, move things around, and put that equation into standard form. So the quadratic equation I'm going to go solve here is 2w squared minus w minus 28 equals 0. We can go and use the quadratic formula, but you know what? For this one, why don't we, I don't know. I'll leave it up to you. I guess you could go use the quadratic formula, but we could also try to factor this thing. It will be factorable if we try to use the box, or not the box, we use the x in here when we factor. I don't know. I think you people know how to solve quadratic equations. Go factor or go use the quadratic formula and tell me the two answers you get for w. I might as well try to show you the work both ways because some of you are probably using one method, others of you are probably using other ways. If I'm using the x and I'm going to try factor and I know that it's going to add to -1, multiply to -56. No, maybe this isn't so great. Let's see, what numbers are going to do this? How about 7 and 8? How about 7 and -8, which will give me 2w squared plus 7w minus 8w minus 28 equals 0. Split it. 2w plus 7 minus, what am I taking out here? I think I'm going to take out a 4. So 2w plus 7 equals 0. I'll take out a 2w plus 7. I'm going to get w minus 4 equals 0, which should give me w equals -7/2, or 4. If you use the quadratic formula, your work is obviously going to look different. Your work's going to look like w equals -b, that's 1, plus or minus square root of b squared, 1 squared, or -1 squared, minus 4 times 2 times -28, all over 2a, all over 2 times 2, 1, plus or minus square root of 1, plus, 4 times 2 times 28 is 224, over 4. W equals 1 plus or minus square root of 225, over 4. 225 is a perfect square. Square root of that is 15. 1 plus or minus 15 over 4. And we're going to get 16 over 4. We're going to get -14 over 4. W equals 4. Or -7/2. Oops. Same answers. Now, These are options for the width. Are these both reasonable numbers for the width of the photograph? No, you can't have a negative width. That's not going to make any sense. So I'm going to say that my width is 4 centimeters. I want to find the other dimension. I want to find the length. Well, I've got my nice little formula over here, 2w minus 1. 2 times 4 minus 1, 8 minus 1, I'm getting 7 centimeters. Those are my two dimensions, 4 centimeters by 7 centimeters. Let's take a look at one more of these. Page 26. I would like to see if you can read the problem and create your quadratic equation. See if you can create the quadratic equation. I would draw a picture for this. So if the area is 11, we're going to get W times W plus 6 equals 11. Distribute. If you sent this in, by the way, that's totally fine, just given what I asked you. Or if you sent in the one already converted to standard form, that's also okay. W squared plus 6W minus 11 equals 0. Unfortunately, this one is not factorable, so we're going to have to go use the quadratic formula. Go use the quadratic formula and stop once you get a single number under your root. Go do that. W equals negative b, negative 6, plus or minus square root of 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 11 all over 2 times 1. Negative 6 plus or minus square root of 36 plus 44 over 2. Negative 6 plus or minus square root, I believe, of 80 over 2. So here's the issue. 80 is not a perfect square. When we take the square root, we would get something that we'd simplify and all that stuff. However, in word problems, if I'm asking you for the length of a rectangle, if the rectangle is like a lawn or something like that, fencing or something, I think it would make a lot more sense to give an answer as a decimal than to say that the length of this yard out front is 1 plus the square root of 5 or something like that. A decimal is going to make a little more sense. So we're going to finish this off by going to the calculator. I need to try to get some decimal answers out of this. Hopefully you can sort of see my calculator. Oh, memory cleared. Okay. Well, I'm going to go, so here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to type in negative 6 plus the square root of 80. I'm going to push enter. Then I'm going to divide my answer by 2. Negative 6 plus the square root of 80. Whoops. Sorry. Negative 6 plus the square root of 80. I'm going to push enter. I now have my answer for the numerator. And now I'm going to say divide that answer by 2. And I'm going to get about 1.472. I'll give you rounding directions on the test, but I'll probably say something like round to the nearest thousandth. Then I'm going to go back and do the same thing with subtraction. I'm going to say negative 6 minus the square root of 80. I'm going to push enter, and I'm going to divide that by 2, and I'm going to get negative 7.472. What I don't want to do is type in negative 6 plus the square root of 80 divided by 2, because if I type it all in one step, and I don't use parentheses, it's only going to divide the root 80 by 2, which is not what I want. I want to say the entire thing there is getting divided by 2. So I've got two options for my width. I don't think they're both okay, because the width has to be a positive number. So I think there's my width. I'm going to say the length is, well, the width plus 6. I'm just going to take that, I'm going to add 6 to it, because again, there's my formula. I'm going to get 7.472. And now to finish, I'm going to say, I'm going to write this out in words, and I'm going to put some units on my answer. I'm always going to be looking for units with these problems, never just W equals or L equals. I'm going to say the width is 1.472 centimeters. And the length is 7.472 centimeters. And that's how that one works. There was one more example in the packet. We're not going to worry about that. You're going to see area problems like the two that we just looked at. And if the number under the root is not a perfect square, give me decimal answers.